Go back to it looks like latest scans maybe not looking so good, but we're kind of on that weird spot in Texoma where we're going in between Oklahoma City radar and Fort Worth radar. So if we pull up reflectivity, you can kind of see a little bit of an inflow notch within this storm, that right here. So that's going to be wind moving into the storm, and that's going to keep that rotation going. So Cook County, you are not yet tornado warned, but I would say if you are in Cook County, maybe not as far as Gainesville, but you need to be listening and paying attention because we could potentially be seeing this tornado cross the Red River, impacting northern Cook County. I-35 going to be within this tornado warning. Marietta again is included. So what you need to do, I know with it being end of year, there's a lot of end of year school events, field days. Well, it's been raining in Love County for quite a while, and we've had lightning concerns most of this morning since around, I would say, 7:30, 8 a.m. So get inside. You're going to want to get into the far interior part of your home. Put as many walls between you and the outside, away from windows, because here's the thing, even if it's not a tornado, we're looking at high wind speeds coming out of the storm and large hail. So the last place you want to be is anywhere close to a window. You'll also want to make sure that maybe you contact your friends and family, make sure they are getting to where they need to be. If you're in an apartment, try to get to the lowest level. If you have friends downstairs, maybe give them a knock if you know they're home and see if you can go in there. Sometimes apartment complexes have like the zones or like a clubhouse area that's kind of almost looks like a normal house. It's a one-level building. If you can maybe get there, but I would say now's not the time to run out into the storm. If you're in Sabel's Bend and around the Hubert Moss Lake area, might be a little bit better as far as giving you a little bit of extra time, but this area of rotation is going to be right over 96. Garrett, if we want to pull up shear rate, we can get a look. It has had a little bit of shear with it. Again, it's not screaming at us. We're not seeing the extremely bright blues, but you'll notice compared to anywhere else that has seen storms in the last several hours, this is really the one spot that has a little bit of shear. And we'll go back to velocity and get a look at that couplet. When we were querying some of these wind speeds, they were nearing about, I would say, 80, 90, over 100-mile-an-hour winds. Again, that could be in the upper levels. We may not be seeing that strong of a wind down to the surface, but it's a possibility, especially, I mean, we are in May, so we're in the peak severe weather season here, so that's all a possibility. It still looks really good, which is not a good thing. You're seeing those reds and those blues. It's definitely messy because of where we are in relation to radar, but if there is rotation, I'm going to say it's going to be right here, probably just along the Red River. There's 96, Marietta, maybe just east of this tornado warning. But if this does take more of an eastern track, this could potentially include Marietta, which is not what we want to see after last year. We know they were hit by that EF4 tornado just last year. So you really never want a tornado to hit, but you really don't want it to hit over areas that are, kind of getting over the damage from just a year prior. So with that being said, we are under a severe thunderstorm watch. We'll go back to radar. Severe thunderstorm watch till 4 o'clock today. Overall, the tornado threat is low, but we know what that means in Texoma. Low does not mean zero. We've seen tornadoes in level 1 marginal risk days, and we've actually been upgraded to a level 3 out of 5 risk for severe weather. That is primarily for hail. We're still under a pretty low threat for tornadoes. Just happens to be that this one storm is really coming to its own. We have a cold front, and then we've got a warm front down in DFW. So the two merging may be enough to cause a little bit of that spin there just across the river there in Love County. You'll also notice we have quite a bit of flood warnings ongoing for the I-35 corridor. That's going to include Murray, Sulphur not within that flood warning, but still getting heavy rainfall. Murray, Carter, and Love County seeing that heavy rainfall. I mean, we had radar estimates of about 3 inches an hour, and even at some point near Lone Grove, we had radar estimates of about 5 to 6 inches. So we're really going to be watching for the flooding threat, because here's the thing, these storms, which you'll notice in radar scans, are starting to die out north of Ardmore, but these storms haven't moved one bit, not quite at all. So we're going to keep tabs on that moving forward. If we want to query this warning, Garrett, and Brendan Adams in the back there, do we have our second mic on? Okay, so Garrett, if you want to query that severe thunderstorm or tornado warning, excuse me, and maybe read some of the specs on that, we can get that going. But I believe this warning will at least last for another half hour. Just let me know if you get that. Of course, I know we're kind of learning the ropes here with severe weather season. That's okay. There you go. If you just want to read the county and some of the specs on that warning, Garrett.
Yeah, so that's going to be Love County. That's going to expire here at 1 p.m. So the main rotation is going to be right along 32 and 96 west of Marietta. That's going to be moving southeast, but we're going to be watching that. With the other storm interactions there, it could shift more east or it could shift more south with that movement. So if you're in Marietta, if you're down to Sybil's Bend, Bernieville, that should be going right outside of you. So you're going to want to be in your shelters. Looks like this is going to be passing northeast and east of Falcon Head and Bernieville. But again, that's not a guarantee because of the way that these other storms are kind of interacting with this. So again, this is a tornado warning for Love County until 1 p.m. Make sure you're in your shelters.
Thank you, Garrett, for that update. Again, tornado warning for Love County until 1 o'clock this afternoon. It's been pretty consistent when it comes to rotation, so we're going to stay on the air. You can kind of see, I mean, within that, look where those purples are turning into more of a white color. That is signifying a very, very strong storm that we've got going in Love County. So I want to go back to maybe pull up hail tracks, Garrett. I believe that's going to be in the palette, and it should say hail tracks, and it's going to pull up some of those.
Oh,
wow. That is some large hail, and it's warned for at least tennis ball sized hail. So I mean, that tracks. We could easily be seeing tennis ball size hail there. That is coming. It looks like downstream, National Weather Service in Fort Worth is severe warning this. So we'll see what that means moving forward. But even without a tornado, the thing, when we have a rotating or a wall cloud that's turning, that's a pretty healthy storm, and strong updrafts. That's what we've seen with these storms all day is very strong updrafts, which means the air, the wind moving into the thunderstorm is very strong. What that does, so you got your little ice particle, your hail size, which they start out small, but the longer it's sustained in the air, the opportunity it has to get even larger. So it's kind of falling down below the freezing line in the upper levels of the atmosphere, causes it to melt, and then when it goes back up because the high wind is pushing it in, that causes another layer of ice. So strong winds coming into it, and that may be what we're also seeing on velocity when those winds are looking to be radar estimated at over 100 miles an hour. So hail threat is going to be huge today. If you're in Cook County and you've got covered parking or it's close by, I would get there now, because now is your time to get there, not any later from this point forward, because that storm is crossing the Red River. And the National Weather Service in Fort Worth, they're going to keep tabs on this as it crosses the Red River. Again, that tornado is going to be possible, but right now it's warned for 70-mile-an-hour winds and 2-inch size hail. So we could be seeing some extremely large hail crossing the Red River. We'll see what that does. If we want to zoom out, Garrett, just so folks here can have a big picture, if you're not in Love County or even Cook County right now, there's no cause for concern other than the flooding potential for I-35. So right now, what we're focusing on is Love and Cook County, because that looks to be where the higher threat is right now for tornado and that large hail threat. Again, tornado warning expected to last for at least another 40 minutes until 1 o'clock. We'll pull up velocity, Garrett, and give you maybe an opportunity if you want to talk about velocity and kind of what we're seeing there in Love County and as it crosses the Red River right around Sybil's Bend, it looks like now.
Yeah, so that's going to be going right over the Red River. That's going to be just around Bernieville now, south of 32 and 96, headed towards Thackerville. So anywhere on I-35, that's going to include from the Oklahoma and Texas state line all the way up north of Marietta, and then 32 from Marietta all the way to near Courtney. So if you're in any of those areas, you need to be taking shelter as this thing moves on through. Now, this is going to be crossing over into Texas. There's not a tornado warning now, even though we can see that rotation there right over Sybil's Bend. Fort Worth is monitoring this. There is just a severe thunderstorm warning out now for Texas County, but into Oklahoma, we still have that tornado warning until 1 p.m. for southern Love County. So we're going to keep an eye on that rotation. This is right in the muddy part, so we're getting a lot of different scans of different radars. So we're kind of seeing a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, which is where that rotation is. So again, this is just radar indicated rotation at this point, but nonetheless, you need to be in your shelters until this tornado warning warning expires, we're going to be monitoring to see if they extend it into Texas. So that would be into Cook County over the next several minutes. Amber, anything else there?
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you, Garrett, for your analysis there. So yeah, area of rotation is going to be around Savelle's Bend. It definitely looks like it's falling apart there, but if you remember, if you were tuned into our coverage on Monday when we had tornado warnings around the Red River, it was not the easiest thing to see. It was very, very messy. So we may be seeing more or less the same kind of situation when it comes to radar data, not the greatest to interpret. We can pull up shear rate. I'm interested to see what that looks like, if it has changed or if it has peaked anymore. No, it's still, I mean, it's consistent. It's there. There's definitely some turning, but we haven't seen any higher returns of shear rate, which is it's a good thing. But I mean, this has been pretty consistent as it traveled just southeast of Wreck and of course moved southeast and just east of or west of Marietta right now. I-35 is right there. I do think this is taking maybe more of a southern track, maybe south-southeast. We'll pull up velocity again just to kind of see where that main circulation is checking in on that tornado warning. And honestly, the rotation, it's still smack dab in the middle of this warning, but soon enough, especially if this sinks maybe more south, we may be seeing it taking more of a track into Hubert Moss Lake area. But right now, this is west of Marietta. I'm not sure Marietta is going to necessarily be directly impacted by this possible tornado, and I'm saying possible tornado because we haven't had reports or any confirmation of this on the ground. It just has been radar indicated that we're looking at some at least middle level rotation, if not low level rotation. Overall, tornado threat is not the highest threat today. It is going to be the hail concern along with flooding. We've seen quite a bit of rainfall over the last several hours. High winds may be coming out of this thunderstorm. Do you have an update, Garrett?
Yes, the Fort Worth has now issued a tornado warning that includes Savelle's Bend. That's going to be, let's see, and 2-inch hail for that as well. So let me query that. We're going to get that up, see exactly when that goes till. Let's see. So again, that tornado warning now includes northern parts of Cook County. It's a real small warning, just kind of finishing off what has already been done by Norman for the county in Oklahoma. So that tornado warning is going to go until, let's see if I can pull it up. Until 12:45. All right, so 12:45. We've got 20 more minutes on this one in northern Cook County. But other than that, we still have that other warning until 1 p.m. That's going to be for Love County. So this is right over Savelle's Bend now, crossing the Red River, going to get close to Thackerville now, where all that construction is on I-35. So if you're in any of those areas, make sure you're getting off the road and taking shelter. So let's see, we got a new run of radar. It looks a little bit messier now as it's crossed over the Red River, but still something to keep an eye on if you're at Hubert and Moss Lake or anywhere in on I-35 north of the Red River or anywhere in northern Cook County. Anywhere in northern Cook County or northwestern Grayson County, get ready as the storm starts to move on through. We'll see if they decide to take this tornado warning any further after 1 o'clock, but other than that, we'll just keep watching it, and other than that, we got some big hail still for a lot of these areas.
Yeah, look at these returns here coming up on reflectivity. We don't see these hardly ever, and I mean that's showing not only just high rainfall rates, but very large hail. Those hail tracks have been showing at least up to tennis ball size hail possible, warned for 2-inch size hail. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, the National Weather Service in Fort Worth, kind of like Garrett said, filled the gap here. They included Savelle's Bend in that warning. I think that was a great call by the National Weather Service because this is kind of teetering on the Red River from Oklahoma into Texas. Now, well, that being said, the following severe thunderstorm warning ahead of it is warned for, again, mainly hail, winds up to about 70 miles an hour. If you have friends or family in Love County, well, hopefully they are where they need to be now because, I mean, this area of rotation is going to be right on the cusp of the Red River. Savelle's Bend, I think, is really the main area. Marietta may not be directly impacted by the circulation, by the rotation, but high rainfall, definitely some hail going to be coming Marietta's way. So, yeah, be in your storm-safe place. Now, if you're downstream, man, that hail core looks insane right about here. Yeah, that's really when that started to pick up. And right about here was when we started to see signs of rotation. They decided to issue a tornado possible tag, and we were kind of just waiting for it, waiting for them to pull the trigger on that tornado warning because honestly, that's one of the better looking couplets that we've seen even in the past week or so with all the severe weather threats that we have had. over now the last week. We're under severe thunderstorm watch until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Again, tornado threat is not really what we're concerned about overly for the main part. We're mainly focused on hail, of course, lightning with all the outdoor events. I know the city of Denison has been talking about their outdoor events today and whether or not those will be able to continue. And at this point, if it keeps on like it is, I would say outdoor plans today are not going to be green lighted by any means. So the National Weather Service in Fort Worth, their warning again is until 12:45. So it's not necessarily a time extension. The original warning for Love County is until 1 p.m. So promising that we haven't seen the timeline extend. If we want to pull up velocity, you know, we're just keep checking in on velocity to see how that couplet is doing. It's still there. There's definitely still some rotation right there. It looks a little bit, it definitely doesn't look as good as it did. It may be a little bit more spread out, but there's still some rotation there. But we'll see what they decide to do with this. We still have about another half hour on this warning. Heavy rainfall, lightning, and yeah, this even is starting to flatten out a little bit around the lake there in Cook County. There's I-35. Main rotation has yet to cross I-35, but with radar scans, it can be a little bit delayed, so it may be a little bit closer. The storm movement, let's talk about that, because these storms have had little to no movement all morning long. That's why we had radar estimates of 5 to 6 inches an hour, because these storms not moving. That was around Lone Grove just about, I would say, an hour, maybe an hour and a half ago. These are moving at 15 miles an hour. So these storms are at a crawl right now. So with that being said, it's honestly surprising that these storms have been able to withstand themselves and to hold on to the hail potential and the tornado threat, because I mean, it's just the environment in a situation like this you would think would be rained over. But we have boundaries in place, and that's what I think is going to be triggering these storms and that possible rotation. The highest tornado threat today is along and south of the Red River, so it lines up with the tornado potential. But because of the lower threat, we are under a severe thunderstorm watch, not necessarily a tornado watch. Just because we're not under a tornado watch doesn't mean you can't see tornadoes. Of course, we know very well in Texoma you can get a tornado warning in a day 1, level 1 risk, or even, of course, the highest risk. We've really seen it all. Shear rate is still consistent, so we'll see what they decide to do with that. I'll toss it over to Garrett so you can talk a little bit about this shear.
All right, so we see that main part of the shear for that tornado warning that has already been issued. Now we're also watching another area in northern Cook County. Right here where that little dot is, there's a little bit of circulation in that Fort Worth is looking at now. But in all, we have that tornado threat, and we also have an increasing wind threat as well. So we could see very strong winds, especially on the outside of this storm. So back here in western parts of Love County, moving into northern parts of Cook County, we could see that's where we'll see the 70-mile-an-hour winds, possibly higher than that in some areas, with stronger downdrafts, large hail as well. But I think the hail core has come down just a tad. Let's look at the hail track there. So again, yes, it has come down a little bit as it's gone over Sybil's Bend, but still high up to the north. And we're seeing again that area off into Cook County that is starting to pick up as well. But yeah, it looks like they're going to watch it. No tornado warning for this other area of circulation in Cook County. The main area of circulation is still northwest of Thackerville, moving over Sybil's Bend now back into Love County. No confirmed tornado right now, but we're keeping an eye on it. Lots of circulation, tight rotation with this as it's moved through Love County, over into Cook County, and now back into Love County within the next 10 to 15 minutes, getting closer to I-35, closer to WinStar Casino there in Thackerville. So something to keep an eye on if you're anywhere in those areas. Or if you're off to the southeast anywhere. These storms are going to be moving pretty slow, like Amber said, but nonetheless, they'll make their way eventually. We have risk for damaging winds, large hail, and very isolated tornado threat, but we've already seen some tight rotation with this. And we see more of these storms starting to pop up down into Cook County. This could interfere with those storms as they move on. It could diminish the tornado threat, or we could see tornado threats pop up with those cells as they start to strengthen. That's something that the National Weather Service in Fort Worth is watching for these cells, as if they start to rotate or if they go up quickly, just like this storm did as it crossed over from Carter into Love County just about 30 minutes to an hour ago. It dropped south, bigger hail, but it looks like that hail core is going down. We saw that black and white start to pop up as it got into Love County, right along the Love County line. Started to taper off a little bit as it got closer to Marietta, but still lots of heavy rain in there, 2-inch hail, and the possibility of a tornado with that radar indicated rotation. Let's look back at velocity and see, well, it's pretty messy there, so it's kind of hard to see. Amber, you see anything?
It's hard to tell. It looks like we may be seeing some of those brighter scans here. You see near Savelle's Bend and Hubert Lake. We're right on that. You see these purple lines. It's called range folding there when you get far away from radar. But I would say maybe right here also where those higher winds, those brighter colors are, this may be inching closer to I-35, so we'll keep watch of that because this morning, or this circulation, or at least high wind, is going to be coming out of this warning box here soon. But they are moving so slow, so it may not move a whole lot here in the next little bit. But in addition to our tornado threat, again, this is going to be right around I-35, Thackerville. There's Leaper Lake. Yeah, if you are in Windstar Casino, I would say you need to hunker down. If you've got friends and family who are maybe visiting in town, Windstar Casino, you want to get into your storm safe spots now because that is going to be where the main circulation likely will be heading. Of course, it is slow moving. And yeah, like Garrett was saying, it's a good sign that some of these returns are coming down. It's not looking as scary, but they may be pulsing up a little bit just south of Savelle's Bend, just north of the lake there. But I want to talk about the flooding because we are getting reports out of Wilson, Oklahoma this morning. Keller Road, that's going to be north of Memorial Road, 10 inches of water over the road. That's northeast of Wilson. So if you know Keller Road, north of Memorial Road, 10 inches of water over there. So flash flooding, big time concern. It doesn't take much. We've seen a lot of rain the last few weeks. April, I mean, did its thing. We had so much rainfall. And so with that being said, soil still saturated. Obviously, our rivers, creeks, lakes, they've gone down, but they haven't been down to normal levels. And we won't really see those normal levels until likely early June. So, and that's without any additional rainfall. So we'll see if that even happens early June. So flooding, big concern. That's why this flood warning is ongoing. If you can avoid getting on the roads, I know it's lunchtime. I would say hopefully you packed a lunch. I wouldn't risk it at all. I wouldn't be heading towards I-35. If you're east of I-35, I'm not concerned at all. This is just moderate to heavy rainfall. No severe weather threat. You see how stratiform this is. I don't think we have a huge concern right now. The main placement is here around I-35, and of course with that tornado warning in Love County, that will likely cross over into Cook County. And like Garrett said, we do have some storms developing just a little bit south, so we'll see how they interact. It may cut off the rotation, maybe lose some steam there, but I mean, stranger things have happened, so we'll see what that does. Right now, Gainesville, you're probably hearing a lot of lightning, thunder. The main area of circulation, not really, I mean, it's close to Gainesville, but you have some time. Gainesville's technically not even included in a severe thunderstorm warning just yet because of how slow moving these are, so I'm confident you'll have enough lead time if they do decide to extend this warning past 1 o'clock. Of course, for the Fort Worth area, I believe Savelle's Bend, that portion of the tornado warning will be until 12:45. Looks like that road I just updated you on, Memorial Road, 3/4 west or 3/4 west of Newport Road, is reported to be washed out. That is on the northwest side of Lone Grove. Washed out roads in Carter County. Yeah, that means you can't travel them. You know the saying, turn around, don't drown, and that is very true, especially if the water is running and it's fast. It's not going to take a whole lot for it to get your car off the road. And if it's confirmed that we have 10 inches of water over roads, that is enough to sweep a person and almost high enough to be sweeping vehicles off the road, especially the smaller the vehicle is, the easier it's going to be for that to take place. So if we want to pull up velocity really quick again, just to kind of check and see where the main area of circulation is, I still think it's right on, well, there it is, right there. Still looks pretty decent. It's not as tight of a couplet by any means. It might be more broad rotation, but I mean, I'm sure if we looked at some of these radar estimated winds, we're easily looking at 80-mile-an-hour winds. Previously, we were getting radar estimates of over 100 miles an hour. That was around just southeast of Wreck. The storm is now well past that. Marietta, I think you're going to be fine. I wouldn't leave your storm safe spot right now, but main area of circulation is going to be right here. Garrett, if we want to zoom in a little bit more, it's going to look kind of funky, but we can get some more locations and maybe even road names. There's Thackerville, there's the casino, Leaper Lake, Paradise RV Park, it's too late to get to anywhere else. So you just need to get into the safest spot in your home. There's the Love Valley Wildlife Management Area, the Berry Hill Raceway. Savelle's Bend, I think, is now on the west side of this circulation, but this is right for the casino. This is coming right for WinStar Casino right now. So yeah, make sure your people know and they are aware. Primarily, this is still north of the Red River, but some of that rotation is kind of seeping into the Hubert M. Moss Lake area. And then there's the Gainesville Travel Info Stop. There's the Gainesville Municipal Airport. That's kind of on the cusp of at least the severe thunderstorm warning. But at least, at the very least, some high wind coming out of this. I'm not seeing any ground truth reports, but we have so much water. I imagine that we really won't have a whole lot because this is more than likely rain wrap. The rotation, they're noting, is still strong on the Red River. It's going to be moving towards Interstate 35 near or just north of Thackerville. But yeah, that's going to be cutting it really close to WinStar Casino. So honestly, if you are in WinStar Casino, I haven't been there in a while, but I don't think there's a lot of windows. It might be the safest place to be. So get into the far interior part, try to maybe get under something, cover your head, so that way if by some reason the tornado is coming through, you can at least try to keep yourself safe. I would avoid I-35 in Cook and Love County for the time being. Honestly, if you don't have to get home to work, if your destination isn't anywhere on I-35, I would maybe avoid that. But I do know with, the Roosevelt Bridge, with that being a lot of commutes are rerouted and some folks have no choice. But if it can wait, I would say do not go into the Love County, Cook County area, anywhere south really of Lake Murray right now. Grayson, Marshall County, you're fine. A lot of rainfall. I don't really see this rotation impacting Marshall County. We'll see how it trends if it keeps moving southeast. If it holds, it may come into Grayson County, but again, it's moving at 15 miles an hour, so we've got a little bit, and the hail course still looks decent. So I would say at least ping pong, maybe tennis ball size hail, still a possibility. I believe that's still what it's warned for. Winds could be upwards of about 70 miles an hour within this storm. Getting reports that the storm is maybe a little bit undercut right at the surface. Storm spotters are next to the wall cloud. It is just west of 35 at Highway 77. So it's going to be just west of 35 around Highway 77 there. And that is reports not of a tornado, but of a wall cloud, which walking you through the steps of a tornado when we're looking at storm progression. We've got our supercell, and then we've got our wall cloud. The lowering is what we're looking for. Next in line is a funnel cloud, which is when we start to see that rotation moving closer and closer to the ground. And by definition, it's not a tornado until it hits the ground. So as soon as it makes contact with the ground, we start seeing debris or contact with the ground. That's when it's confirmed as a tornado. So right now we're just seeing a rotating wall cloud, at least according to storm reports. Whether or not this was already on the ground within its lifetime, that's what we're going to be watching. But I do imagine the National Weather Service in Fort Worth is going to need to take over and maybe even issue another warning if they see fit. It is broadening out a little bit, but this storm has been pretty healthy given the situation today. I'm going to toss it over to Garrett if you want to pull up reflectivity, or if you want to talk about velocity radar, just give your analysis on what's going on here.
Yes, so Norman, National Weather Service in Norman is talking about some circulation. So there was a little bit of circulation north of Thackerville. That was where the tornado warning was issued for as it moved along 32 north of Barneyville, then down towards Thackerville. Now the second area of rotation has kind of formed as it crossed the Red River. That's going to be going closer to WinStar. So that area over towards the casino, south towards Gainesville, that's where that new area of circulation is going to be. We can see that on our velocity here. That's going to be where that bright green is, right here, Hubert M. Moss Lake, moving over towards I-35 towards Leaper Lake to the southeast. This is a slow-moving storm, about 25 to 35 miles an hour. Lots of heavy rain in here, lots of strong winds, and that tornado threat again. We haven't had any reports of a tornado on the ground, but there have been reports of a wall cloud, possibly something that could lower as it gets on into Cook County. So that's that's going to be something that we're watching for. Now with the tornado warning in Love County in Oklahoma, they did drop that hail size. It was, again, for that severe thunderstorm warning, included tennis ball sized hail. Now the tornado warning only includes 1.75 inch hail, so that's going to be smaller than 2 inches, so it's going to be a little bit better. We saw that as it started to dissipate a little bit with that hail core kind of going from those whites and blacks back down into the pinks. And now there was, I believe it was quarter-sized hail reported at Moss Lake. So there's lots of big hail with this as well. So make sure to stay away from those windows if you're not in the tornado warning. So if you're anywhere in Cook County, make sure that you are in your shelters as well. In Love County, Thackerville, again, they did trim that back. So Bernieville, you're no longer included that. Marietta, you're also not included in that tornado warning anymore. It is still set to expire at 1 p.m. So we're going to keep an eye on it as it moves, though, into northeastern parts of Cook County. So I think that's Callisburg areas. Get ready as the storm starts to make its way closer to you. Areas in northwestern Grayson County. Again, no tornado warning for you. That's going to stay in Love County for right now, but we're keeping an eye on it as it starts to move on through. Let's look back at that hail. Still pretty big hail with this as it moves across into the peninsula there for Thackerville. This is getting real close to I-35, so if you're in Gainesville heading north, or if you're in Marietta heading south on I-35, go ahead and pull over, let this thing move on through. You don't want to get caught in that hail or the possibility of a tornado. Again, still strong winds up to 70 miles an hour possible, so you don't want to be caught in that. Take shelter. All right, we have I believe that is a new severe thunderstorm warning issued by Fort Worth. That's going to include parts of Grayson County into eastern sections of Cook County as well. That's going to include Gainesville, Sherman, Denison, Whitesboro, Pottsboro, all these areas, southern Texoma. That is going, let's see what that is warned for. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Amber, that is going to be warned for golf ball sized hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds.
Okay, so it looks like they maybe come down a little bit on the hail sizes there. I still think we could have larger than golf ball sized hail within this storm just because of the history. And while this is moving southeast, we'll see. It's promising that it's a severe thunderstorm warning and not a tornado warning. So maybe they'll kind of monitor and see how this goes moving forward. But this area of rotation is going to be coming into Cook County. And eventually, whether or not it's still rotating, will work its way into western Grayson County. I know our friends in Sherwood Shores area get a little nervous as they were hit a couple years ago, but I think the main circulation, unless this starts to move a little bit more east, I think the Sherwood Shores area is going to be okay. Heavy rainfall for Lake Texoma, heavy rainfall coming our way in Grayson County. It does appear it's falling apart maybe a little bit. It's starting to get a little bit more messy. The storm really looked a little bit more organized, actually a lot more organized initially, but going back to velocity, just so we can get a good grasp on if this tornado warning, when you can actually see. So Garrett, if you want to hit now on our graphic, I think it'll stop it and it'll pause it. And if you want to take it back to when this rotation started, so we want to backpedal and then move our camera up, you can really see when this started to go. It was just right here is when me and Garrett started looking at this thinking, okay, this is going to go tornado. This is definitely going to produce a warning. And sure enough, not long after it did. But they did clip Marietta out of that tornado warned storm. So right now the main area of circulation is going to be around the Thackerville area. It's still maybe showing some signs of rotation, but not maybe as good as it once did originally. So we'll see. High wind, it's definitely still rotating even in the middle to upper levels of the atmosphere. Leaper Lake, this is going to be just south of Gainesville. Wind stars right there, or south of Thackerville, and going to be kind of around the Gainesville travel info stop in the municipal airport there. High winds, like Garrett said, up to at least 70 miles an hour. And again, we are still dealing with heavy rainfall and flooding concerns. So I know many folks may be hearing Windstar and getting a little nervous. It looks like the second circulation will likely just be south of Windstar, but we can't make the guarantee that it won't necessarily be within the path. And not looking good because we're starting to see more of those black colors, the white colors, kind of where our color legend runs out of any higher level colors. So we're seeing at least some high rainfall return rates. Again, we had 5 to 6 inches radar estimated an hour around Lone Grove earlier today. I imagine that doesn't look much different for the I-35 corridor now with what we're seeing. And there's those hail sizes. This is our tracker from small to large. I mean, we're pulling almost at the largest level on our legend. So high hail threat, and that's really most of today. We were actually upgraded at the 11:30 hour to a level 3 out of 5 risk, not because of the tornado threat, but because of the hail threat. We're now under a significant threat given the parameters today. We've had a lot of updraft, very strong updraft, winds that are moving within the thunderstorm. That's causing issues. And again, I don't want to diminish the flooding threat. Thankfully, it looks like the rain is starting to slow down around our northern counties from Garvin to Murray. It's still ongoing in Carter County, but I know the Wilson area has been getting reports of washed out roads. So just be very, very careful if you're hearing some familiar road names and that's the way you take to get to where you need to. I would maybe consider finding a new route, because if the road's washed over, you're not really going to get anywhere. So waiting to see what the National Weather Service in Fort Worth will do with this. It looks like, I mean, with that downstream severe warning, they'll likely see how this trends. It's a very small polygon for that tornado warning, but just want to note that Marietta is out of the main threat for circulation. And these storms are starting to merge. You see how these developed here in Monte County, crossed over Cook County, now on I-35. So these are coming together. What that will or won't do for the storm and its potential moving forward is going to be something that we look out for. So if we look at the big picture, because maybe folks are tuning in and maybe they're hearing a lot of lightning or heavy rainfall and you're getting a little nervous, but really it's I-35 that is the biggest concern right now, and it's really the southern portion of our I-35 corridor counties from Love, Grayson, into Cook County there. 75 going to be included within that new severe thunderstorm warning for Grayson County. Anywhere east of I-35, we still have a severe thunderstorm watch till 4 o'clock. I'm interested to see, though, how this rain right now is going to impact our threat. Maybe it'll drop it off for the rest of today after we get through this initial round. But high rainfall rates, again, this flooding threat is going to be a big issue, especially if we're hearing roads are already washed out. Looks like the hail core is going to be right on the county line now, tracking towards the north side of Gainesville, Walnut Bend, and Callisburg. It's still about 20-25 minutes out, but additional reports of ping pong ball size hail reports in Moss Lake. So we know we're still getting consistent hail returns with this. And man, that is such a large, I mean, some of these hail cores are the size of some of these cities. I mean, this is county-wide. The hail core almost takes up the entire county. Look at that. All the way there. Obviously, the higher hailstones are going to be in these more isolated locations, but the entirety of Love County, for the most part, getting in on some large hail, maybe even some smaller hail in Marietta, but regardless, this is an insane hail core that we've really been seeing stay persistent, which, again, if you've got that hail core, and it lines up with the tornado potential here with that main area of rotation, which to me, when I'm looking at it, is out of the warning box. If I'm looking at it, Garrett, it looks like this is mostly north of Gainesville right here. So I think the National Weather Service in Fort Worth is just kind of watching and seeing how this is going to play out. Does it tighten up? Does it require another tornado warning? So we'll see what that does downstream. But if there is a rotation, it's going to be heading for Gainesville. Now there's I-35. Strong winds nonetheless, tornado or not. I would say we're getting at least 60, 70 mile an hour winds. This storm has had a history of producing up to over 100 mile an hour winds, at least in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So don't think we've had reports of that high wind on the ground. But I mean, still, if it's in the upper levels, we're definitely getting some strong winds there. At the surface, Garrett, any analysis you want to?
So we are getting more reports of hail in northern Cook County. So we're seeing lots of ping pong ball sized hail north of Gainesville, northwest of Gainesville, as that storm starts to move across I-35. So there's been a lot of reports out of Moss Lake with those large hail reports. That's going to continue to move into central and eastern parts of Cook County, crossing over into Grayson County as well. So close to Whitesboro, down into Lake Ray Roberts as well. Southern sections of Lake Texoma towards Pottsboro, we could all see some pretty large hail. Now, if you're heading on 377 because you can't take the Roosevelt Bridge, looking like the hail threat is going to stay mostly to your west and southwest of the bridge there on 377, but still lots of heavy rain with this as well, and strong gusty winds up to 70 miles an hour. Now that tornado warning, I think they're going to go ahead and let that expire. That's set to expire at 1 p.m. there in Love County. There is not a possible tornado tag on the severe thunderstorm warning for areas of Cook and Grayson County. And I believe there's still that severe thunderstorm warning also for Love County. So the severe threat's going to really be moving on into Texas Texas across the Red River here now. That area of circulation that we have been monitoring is not quite as intense as it has been. That's going to be getting closer to I-35 now. So if you're driving on I-35, go ahead and play it safe. There's plenty of gas stations there around Gainesville. You can pull over and take shelter. Wait for this thing to move on through. It's going to take its time. It's moving about 25 to 35 miles an hour, so it's going to be around Callisburg here in the next 10 to 15 minutes, getting over into Whitesboro in the next 20 to 25 minutes. So that's something to keep an eye on if your areas from Gainesville along 82, from Gainesville to Sherman, anywhere on 289. You're good right now. You have about 30 to 35 minutes before that starts to make its way towards you. Looking back at radar, we're going to see a lot of that heavier rain really starting to move into Gainesville now from I-35, from almost the Denton County line all the way up into Oklahoma. Heavy rain now moving over the 377 bridge on Lake Texoma. Other areas of Lake Texoma, you aren't quite getting that heavy rain. Durant, you have light rain right now, but that heavier stuff moving outside of Sybil's Bend now, across Moss Lake. Highway 82 now from Gainesville, now moving closer to Whitesboro. So we're going to keep an eye on that along 377 as well. Let's look at the hail track, see if there's any higher reports of hail. So it looks like it's about the same, not quite as bad as it was in central Love County as it's dropped south, but still some up to ping pong ball sized hail outside of Gainesville moving south now. That velocity is still looking a little strong so we're going to see some gusty winds again. Downdrafts maybe get up to 70 miles an hour, especially areas now across I-35 northwest of Gainesville, now really getting closer into areas across 35 to 82. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Again, the circulation is not quite as tight. There is no tornado warning for any of our Texas counties. That tornado warning still in effect for Love County, but most of the circulation is now moved across the Red River. Amber?
Yeah, I would agree. The main area of circulation is now out of the tornado warning. So if you're in Love County, you still want to be on alert because we are getting reports of wind-driven hail, some debris just south of the casino there, Windstar Casino that is. So we'll keep watch. We're going to have some reporters calling in to see as far as confirmation and some more details on the possible damage there coming out of the Windstar Casino area. So we've got tabs on it. Looks like most of the debris may be just from the trees, which we've had a lot of tree damage over the last several days. So that comes as no surprise. Some of them may already be compromised from the high winds over the weekend. And you add on more rain and more wind, and it's just not looking good. But high rainfall rates, again, we're still watching for that flooding threat. Looks like just northeast of Lone Grove, they've already had over 4 inches of rain today. And I mean, that's a lot of water in a little amount of time. Thankfully, it looks like I-35 is starting to slow down, but again, like Garrett said, these storms are moving so slow. They're just going to keep dumping rain over the same spots that we have already seen rain. And if you are encountering any hail or high wind, like Garrett was saying, you want to pull over. I want to note that that doesn't mean pull over on the highway under intersections. We mean by pulling over, get to somewhere, a gas station, a corner store, a grocery store, some kind of building. The last thing you want to do is cause a pileup on the road, not because of a crash, but because you are blocking the road. That makes it even more dangerous, and it's honestly better just to get off the road, slow down, and get into a building of some sort rather than just hanging out in your car under an overpass or under a bridge. So we'll see. We have about 4 more minutes on this warning, but the main area of circulation looks to be pretty much out of the warning area. We'll see what this does long term, but it does look like it is weakening a little bit, especially compared to what it has looked like. But if we are dealing with rotation, it's going to be around the Gainesville area, maybe just north of the city. Wow, you can really see where that shear rate picked up. So sometimes our shear rate and our hail tracks can be a little bit delayed. The radar, they're kind of estimated products, and so sometimes it's got to gather all the information that we're getting to really start to put the pieces together. And this was right around where we were saying it looked really, really good. So higher shear rate, and it looked like it maybe pulsed up even just outside of that warning box north of Gainesville. Still consistent when it comes to shear. We're still seeing a little bit of spin around Gainesville, but it has dropped off just a little bit. So what we have left of circulations, it's going to be exiting again Love County. Like we said, the tornado threat is decreasing, but the hail potential and the strong wind is going to persist at least for a little bit, but it eventually will be moving into Texas. So they will allow that tornado warning to expire at the top of the hour as that storm moves into Cook County. That's on the Norman side of things, but we are composed of 4 different National Weather Service So this is going to be, they're going to be passing the baton to our friends in Fort Worth. And right now it just looks like a severe thunderstorm warning. I don't want to say just, because this is still has potential to produce high winds up to 70 miles an hour. And while it's warned for golf ball size hail, I'm just going to say up to 2-inch size hail is going to be possible. And we've seen that exemplified in our severe weather threat today with that level 3 out of 5 risk added. And just zooming out again, just because we are still seeing rain kind of spread out across the area. You know, these storms really weren't even supposed to get going according to data until, well, kind of right now. And then they got an early start, and man, did they get a start dumping heavy rain for the I-35 corridor. And just watch this over the last several runs. Watch as it loops. These storms aren't moving. These storms are stationary, so that's why we are really, really concerned with the flood potential. I'm honestly surprised that the flood warning hasn't or does not extend anywhere else, which it does look like Love County is now under that flood warning, and severe thunderstorm warnings continue. But just a heads up for what's to come for Cook and Grayson County. If this continues holding its own and moving as slow as it has, then we may see another issue with flooding. I know sometimes 75, where all that construction is, the water can pile up because sometimes it doesn't have really anywhere to go with the barriers. That'll be something to watch out for heading into the afternoon hours. So we'll see how this plays out over the next few minutes. It is 12:59. We do expect this tornado warning to expire at 1 p.m. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop off your screens here in the next minute. We're going to continue our running radar on our Facebook stream and our live stream. So you can go to KTEN.com. If you're watching on the air, hit watch live. It should pop up. If you're having issues, you can maybe try the KTEN weather app or the KTEN Go app on your TV. If you're having issues, give us a call or an email. We'll try to get that figured out. But we will remain showing radar on our Facebook live stream. We'll be popping in for updates on the severe thunderstorm warnings because they are still going. Just one quick run through. Grayson County under a severe thunderstorm warning for winds to 60, 70 miles an hour up to 2-inch size hail. Not quite in the Sherman-Denison area yet, but it will be likely within the next half hour given it doesn't fall apart and that flooding threat continues. So make sure you're tuning in tonight for our full forecast. This is just the beginning. We've got more storms through Memorial Day weekend. I feel like we always are talking about storms come Memorial Day weekend. But with that being said, tornado warning is now expired. Severe warning still going for Love. It looks like they did issue or maybe update that warning. Cook and Grayson County. But again, no active tornado warning. Severe thunderstorm watch until 4 o'clock. So if you're looking for updates, you can keep it here to KTEN. But for now, we're going to get back to programming.